Welcome to the Featured Anime Podcast. I'm your host, Jack.
And I'm Rick.
And today we're talking about Season 2 of Log Horizon, which was your choice this week.
It was. And I'm sorry. I remember this anime with rose-colored goggles. It was still top tier, but it wasn't Season 1.
Yeah, no, definitely not Season 1. So it was 25 episodes long. It aired from October 2014 through March 2015. And the producer for it was NHK, with the studio this time of being Deen, Deen. And it's based off of a light novel. Genres are action, game, adventure, magic, and fantasy.
Did they change studios halfway through?
No. So you had for the first season one studio, and then season 2 was Studio Deen. So you had Satellite for Studio 1 for the season 1, and then you had Studio Deen for season 2.
My main reason for asking is the first half of season 2 felt like season 1. It felt good. It had purpose. It had trajectory, if you will. And the animation quality was still impressive. Attention to detail was still top notch. After episode 12, I feel like they wasted all of their effort, because the second half of season 12 could literally be summed up in 4 episodes.
True.
Instead of the 13.
Yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with the studio. I think it probably has a lot to do with the light novels and how the story actually flows in there, and the writing director. Or episode director is what I would honestly have to say, because for Studio Deen, they're a pretty big powerhouse in terms of
what have they done?
7 Deadly Sins. They've done Fruits Baskets, the original one that came out back in 2001. They did Vampire Night. They've done When They Cry, and they've done personal favorite of both yours and mine and several other isekai fans out there, Konosuba season 1 and 2 in the movie.
So they have a wide range of art styles and drawing styles.
Yeah, they've also done Rurouni Kenshin, just to name another one. So they've done both styles of Rurouni Kenshin. So they did the OVA, the 4-episode OVAs, and then they did the animated series. And so in terms of art style and who they draw upon and who they actually use is very wide. It's not.
Yeah, they're very versatile.
Yeah, it's not narrow focused. I mean, like, they even worked on a Fate Stay Night movie too.
So that makes sense why the first half was such good quality. Maybe, perhaps, after the first half of the second season, they allocated resources elsewhere. Like, that's the only thing I can think of, because there was a few episodes where I was just like, wow, they really just phoned this one in.
Yeah. Well,
but again, when I watched it originally, it was a week to week thing. So I guess binging it gives me a different
perspective.
Yeah, perspective, because watching it week to week was awesome.
Well, I mean, I could see that. I mean, like, that's probably also why they decided to go with maybe a 12-episode season for season 3 of Log Horizon, because Studio Deen's doing the season 3 for Log Horizon. Okay,
I can see that. 12 good episodes to me is worth 24 mediocre ones. What do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And I would honestly have to agree with you. I mean, like, 12 really good, solid episodes would mean a lot more than just 25 kind of episodes. Because if they're I feel like I'm cheated.
I agree. You feel cheated. You're like, why did I wait a whole week for this?
Exactly. Or wait for all of them to come out over the course of several months and then binge it all. And it's like, well, that's just disappointing.
I just wasted 6 hours.
Exactly.
No, so I feel that the story held up. Again, you can't. Attention to detail for the first 12 episodes, and I'm going to keep saying the first 12 because I feel like it should be season 2 and then season 2.5, if I'm being completely honest. So the first half, the detail was amazing. When I liked the fact that it maintained every time you'd see something new in at least the game setting, a descriptor would pop up. When you were introduced to somebody new, all of their stats popped up, who they were, what race they were, what their class, and on occasion what their subclass was. Just I liked that. It was unique, and it made me feel like if I paused it, everywhere I looked had something else to look at. It looked like, I'm going to correct myself. It looked like it was meant to be paused. It looked like it was meant to be read.
True. I can understand, like, throughout the season, honestly, the artwork was different from season 1. How it looked was very different from season 1. The art consistency through season 2 was on the level. It at least had the same artwork all the way through. The only time where they actually had a very unique or specific style change was when they were doing the flashbacks to their real world lives. And at that point, that's when they really tried to go with a more realistic approach. So the eyes weren't very big. They were more realistic in terms of the hairstyle. It was more realistic. Yeah. The look and feel of them, it was more realistic. And then when you saw, like, for instance, you have Shiro, or not even Shiro. Mm-hmm. We'll go with someone that you actually really see the face of for their age, Tora, right? You see him, like, you actually see his face. And it is a very big contrast from how it is in the game world. In the game world, they have these big, wonderful eyes. They're colorful. Their hair is like spiking everywhere. And it's big hair too. Whereas in the real world, mm-hmm. It's short and cut. It's dulled. The eyes, they're not big. They're as if they were normal eyes, and the artwork really reflects that. And that's something that I actually truly appreciated. They wanted to give you that stark contrast. Here they are. Here it is in the real world, comparatively to how they look and are in the fantasy world.
Do you remember when you finally get to see, I say that like I wanted to, and I wanted to see this, but when you see them both die, when you see mm-hmm. Akutsuki and Shiro, when they die and they go to their, not afterlife, I'd say the waiting room. I think that's a good way to call it. You don't really know what it is until Shiro goes, "Hey, I think this is the moon." He looks it up, and it is the Sea of Tranquility, but it's in Latin, which was kind of interesting to me. Nothing else was in Latin.
Well,
so I thought that was weird.
It was a little weird, but also he brings up saying that it's the test server. So it's not entirely unusual for the test server for them to have really unique or interesting ways to be able to have things named or spelled out, a different look or feel for it as well, you know?
Now, you did mention something that I find that I hope is going to be very important moving forward. You said it was the test server. Mm-hmm. There were 13 servers in the game. The 14th server was the test server, which happened to be on the moon. I hope, because in the second half of season 2, it was a big ordeal, not a big ordeal, a big to-do at the very last episode that they were able to talk via a telecommunications center, a TV station, to other servers. They were able to talk to the China server.
Yep.
And when you talk to the China server, the person that's there, I'm not going to say that person's name just yet. They'll be revealed. It makes you realize that you were right. Last episode, we talked about how I thought it was only in Japan, and it was only here in the 30,000 on the Japanese server. And you're like, no, I think it's the whole world. You verified. You were right. No, you didn't verify, but the story verified itself. It's worldwide. Mm-hmm. The only difference between Japan and the rest of the world would be that Japan is the only one that had the update.
Well, it had the update first. It was the first one, and that's something that's actually really brought upon, which is why there's a group of people heading to the Japanese server, because they specifically state Japan was the first one to get the update because it happened at this time at midnight on this date, and the rest of the world followed suit right after that update.
Okay. But yeah, no, I was really happy that And it didn't occur to me until I was like done with these series. And I'm like, wait a second. Crap, I was wrong.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is one of the few times I was not upset about being wrong. I was very happy to be wrong because that just opens up a whole new plethora of ideas that we never really thought of. And with 13 different servers, you got to figure there's 24 time zones, 26, I think, actual time zones, but you got to figure it's roughly 24 because one rotation is 24. If there's 13, imagine if all of China was one, all of Europe was one, the United States was 4, let's say, for some weird reason. That means you could potentially have time zones or servers dedicated to just ocean.
Yeah.
Or better yet, you could have time zones dedicated to things that aren't real. For instance, let's say you had a server dedicated to like Atlantis.
Yeah, but the servers aren't based off of the time zones. The servers are based off of countries or particular sections of land, which is why they say the China server and not the Asian server or give a general larger landmass because Japan's part of Asia. So you have
a point.
India server, you probably have a China server and then a Russia server and then moving onward several other ones, and they just group certain countries together in with each other. So they lump US in all one giant server, and they lump probably a majority of Europe in general into one large server. So you have a European server. Maybe.
That would make sense.
I mean, like how they break it up and everything like that, I think may be relevant in some fashion into the story, but I doubt that. So kind of really focusing in on it, I think is just going to lead us down a rabbit hole that neither one of us will ever get answers to.
I mean, there is a season 3 coming out.
Like I said, I don't think they're going to talk about the servers and why they divided them up or anything like that. I doubt that.
Rabbit hole or not, it did lead me to find something kind of cool out. Using my critical thinking brain, science works in this place.
It does.
Electricity works.
Well, yeah. Much like fire and ice and...
Yeah, but it in the game before, magic worked and science didn't, right? Because there was no real sciencey stuff to do. But they were able to take an existing structure, meaning the telecommunication building that was part of the landscape essentially, and they were able to make it work as a long-range walkie-talkie, for lack of a better phrase. That opens up a whole new...
Well, that, again, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I do. Like, the fact that they are able to do that, but then that was also confirmed even in season 1. In season 1, science was confirmed. Boats, ships, technology, be able to create things that weren't in the game before through their own ingenuity, being able to build stoves, everything like that. And the fact that they actually now have to go through the intensive labor of actually cooking rather than choosing everything from a menu. Same thing with creating the products. They have to now actually manually do that rather than do it through a menu to actually return a decent product, to have it be of a substantial weight in terms anyways. That's already been confirmed.
Yes, but you just said something very important. They had to build it. They had to enact the manual labor to do so. This stuff's already done. This stuff's already just sitting there. That's why I was like, oh crap.
Yeah, but again, that's also was still confirmed by the fact that they were able to buy a building, go into any building, and actually rebuild into the building for the Log Horizon Guild, for Shiro's guild.
True, but that's enacting their own power to build something. They didn't have to build anything for this to work.
For the tower where Shiro was, they did.
Oh?
Remember? Those 3 pedestals that were right there weren't always there. That was actually put there by them.
Then why did the one in China have it?
The one in China didn't have it. They just had a normal terminal and she was banging on it. Konami was banging on it because she thought it looked cool. Like, that was the exact phrase. So she's just like, I thought it looked really cool. So I started hitting the buttons and started banging on it to hopefully get some kind of result. For Shiro's team, wasn't like that. They actually had some other technology from their world integrated in with it.
I'm very well. See, it goes back to my point though. The existing stuff can technically work.
Well, I'm not saying the existing stuff can't work. That was never a question.
Well, it's not something that I realized. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, the whole premise for me was why they divided it up in 13 servers isn't going to be relevant to the story.
True.
That's what I was saying. It's like dwelling on that isn't important to really focus on, because going down that rabbit hole for no reason is on why they decided to divide the servers up the way they did is pointless. The fact they did it and where the 14th, the test server is, I feel like they're going to, that's some kind of relevance. But the fact is what they actually have to do, and this is actually stated at the end too, is that they have to communicate to the moon. And that actually, again, refers to them even talking about, hey, we have to try and figure out how to use a communication tower. We have to be able to do this because it's now starting to activate. We've actually been able to get signals. And also in this world, you need to remember that the flavor text that used to just be there for kicks and giggles now is actually coming to life. Now you have to actually be wary about what you choose, because it could have catastrophic effects.
For instance, the scythe that Krusty ends up being abducted by.
Mm-hmm.
It was, a strong weapon, but it also had an unfortunately demonic, I guess, backstory.
Yeah. And no one knew what happened to Krusty. I mean, like, basically when it happened, no one knew what had happened to him for the entire duration of the...
Yeah, I was going to say, he didn't show up again till the very end.
Exactly. So, I mean, but, who's to say what else is going on? I mean, like, does that also mean, though, the flavor text you choose to put on a weapon when you create it, does that also have an effect?
Yes. Yes, it does. And I'm saying that because in the very first episode, or not first episode, in the first season, episode, I want to say like 13-ish, Shiro created a contract with someone, with people of the land.
That's not flavor text, though.
No, it's not. But
that's new magic. Flavor text and magic aren't the same thing.
Correct. If you're creating a new weapon and you do the flavor text in it, wouldn't that technically be something there? Because
I'm playing advocate because I already know the answer is yes. And the reason why I say the answer is yes, it has nothing to do with episode 1, because what you're referencing is strictly magic. It's things that he created in season 1. It's something that he created and it affects him because of magic, not because of preordained or pre-built-in flavor text. Right, this item will give you wings and will cause you to see colors in a new view, or you'll be colorblind or something. Blah 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 blah. The answer is yes, and the reason why I say the answer is yes is because Akutsuki, she is given a sword that's been modified for her specifically, and it has the flavor text on there. So it had some original flavor text on it that would damage the weapons or damage the armor and rust it or anything else. And then it's been modified and the flavor text was actually updated. So that way it would be reflective on her specifically.
So does that mean you can go into a weapon if you modify it in any way, shape, or form and basically rewrite it?
I would assume to an extent.
Because I'm about to see some seriously overpowered weapons.
I would assume that there's like a limitation on it. So maybe only certain individuals or certain classes are able to do it and not everyone can. Much like you learn about this new skill, the oral arts. Everyone has their own specific oral art and not someone else can use it. So maybe only she can create flavor text or modify them because that's her oral art.
Well, yeah, that'd be kind of cool. That would definitely make things a lot more dynamic and interesting for the future. But yeah, no, so I apologize. I've kind of gone way off topic. Just, as I tend to do, apparently. And what I really thought was good and unique was the fact that the idea that Shiro had to solve their money problem was so out of the box, it didn't even occur to me it was possible.
Well, it didn't.
And that's what I really
it didn't
loved.
even occur to anyone else until he actually brought it up to them. And the reason why he decides to go about it too, and the actual reason for his whole motivation is actually really, really good. So at the end of season 1, you find out that basically this other kingdom has adventurers that basically overtook it, and the leader of this guild bought all the buildings, bought the guild hall, bought the cathedral where they're able to revive everything like that, where she is basically able to control their literal life. You wouldn't be able to do anything at all. You're SOL. So Shiro and the Roundtable Conference, they all buy up the important buildings, the trade, the cathedral, and everything else. What I like, and what he says, and he doesn't say it until he actually gets to the room where all the money is basically being built or created and funneled into these monsters, is that, hey, I need $80 trillion to literally buy every single piece of land within this country. And I love that his reason for that is because people of the land can't buy it. So why should we be able to buy it?
Yeah, that it's not fair.
Exactly. And to take it one step further, the reason why he wants to buy it is because he wants to literally go back and say, by destroying this contract like he did with all the property buildings in their home, gave it to the people of the land.
It made it, instead of an exclusive that they have the ability to, because he also said he wasn't against individual contracts. He just didn't want unfair contracts in the world that I guess made the adventurers have a substantial advantage, which would eventually create animosity. I mean, he's thinking 20 years in the future, when if they're still stuck there, they have to live with these people. They have to live with the people of the land. You don't want to start an all-out war against basically zombies, because no matter how many times you kill adventurers, they keep coming back. They might be a little dumber. They might have forgotten a few things, but I mean, eventually the adventurers are going to win.
Yeah, that is true. And the fact that you even bring up zombies is a great reference, because Shiro even says it's basically like a zombie horde that does not die coming at you.
Yeah, you'd be scared of them too.
Yeah, it's like you could kill them, but it doesn't matter.
And as far as the adventurers go, like right before this, I could never pronounce this dude's name. It just Demi, the Wolverine dude,
Mr. Delicious.
Yeah, Mr. Delicious. They brought up a really good point, because, like we were talking about, the adventurers, they keep coming back. They don't. Some care about dying, some don't. Some desire it. But one of the things that I thought was really kind of awesome, as far as mentality goes, was Mr. Delicious was looking at Shiro and he's like, "What's my name?" Or no, not what's my name, say my name. And Shiro finally says a name, and he realized he didn't say it at all up until that point. And it was remarked a little bit later that, yeah, you can die. Like, it's not that big of a deal, and it doesn't hold the same weight as it would in our world. But to not acknowledge someone's name is to basically not even say they're human.
Exactly.
And that's yeah, intentional or not, it's not necessarily the best way to make friends.
Well, I mean, like, it's not the best way to reference another human.
To be fair, he kind of deserved it given his dickish performance, let's call it.
Oh yeah, no, that goes without saying. That he definitely had been a big dick to everyone. But he, in the end, ends up really, I want to say, salvaging himself.
Yeah, he had a redemption arc.
Yeah, thank you. Redemption. I was trying to remember what it was, and I couldn't remember.
Granted, we were told about his redemption, and we were shown about it much later, but I still think it was done really well.
Yeah.
So
no, that is actually very true. It was done tastefully well.
Now, as far as, well, let's jump back to Shiro talking to whatever the Alda were they called, the Alda? ADL, ALDA or something like that.
Who?
The merchants, the money keepers.
The kunai or whatever it was. It began with a K. It wasn't the Alda.
Karine. Okay, so sorry. So Shiro's part Alda, I think.
Alv. Shiro's part Alv, ALV. Half-elf.
Why am I seeing that? Anyway, I'm I'm off my rocker at times.
Like all of us.
Yeah, right. For some reason, I thought that Shiro and the bankers essentially shared a race, but apparently not.
No, Shiro is half-elf, which is the basically all that's left of this super advanced magical race that was basically exterminated or bred out of existence almost. So you only have halves and that's it.
That brings me to another interesting thing I was hoping to bring up later, but since we're talking about it now, how many knockoffs are in this series? Because you've got Leonardo, the ninja rabbit, or ninja frog.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, that's a clear parody or ripoff of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Oh, I loved it. And the Alv, sorry, I don't know why I keep saying Alda. The Alves are a ripoff of Elf.
Well, you have elves as well.
I stand corrected. I don't know what they're talking about then.
It's talking about a particular group of people that are there just because. Why not?
Maybe they were high elves. I don't know. But going back to that, it was genius how the deduction capabilities that Shiro had, because when you look at it, there was two powers at play. Basically, you have the adventurers and you have people of the land. And he saw like a hidden figure somewhere, and he didn't really have any rock solid evidence, but he was going off of a hunch. And his hunch just appeared to be right, where there's like an elder god race that essentially put the coinage or the gold in the other monsters as they're being revived. And the thing that really made me think is whoever wrote the script or the story has a really firm grasp of economics, because there was only one currency in the whole kingdom. It was gold. It wasn't, there was no money changers, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it makes really good sense, because as we went back before, if you kill 6 goblins, that's good for 1 night and 3 meals. So how would you dictate which, I guess, monsters were worth what gold?
You know, I would really like to know like how they came to that conclusion too. Like what makes this monster worth this amount of gold, you know?
And how come, well, no, I was going to say, how come Adventures didn't drop any gold, but they do.
Yeah.
So never mind. No, it was the world that they created was and is extremely complex and wonderful. Just the detail, I don't think I'll ever get over it. And you know how we were talking about how Shiro created magic and then somebody else created magic, like brand new magic that had never been seen before, world magic, if you will. The town to the south, the city of the south, that had this fox lady who was a super adept at illusions, I guess would be a good way to put it.
I guess.
Yeah, you really don't understand what her power is. But apparently Shiro saw her way back in the day when she was a nobody going through some really depressed stuff and helped her out. And now she's completely obsessed with him. And the thing that I don't quite understand is while she runs a dictatorship, she's using and learning. She surrounded herself by people who I guess were in the Tea Party as well. It was weird.
No, I think she just knows him because at the end of season 1, she talks about him having made a reference or talked to someone or had been met him at one point and he gave her some really solid advice or helped her a little bit, but she wasn't a part of the Tea Party. The debauchery Tea Party.
Her second in command.
Oh, well, I know that two of the guys, not so much their second in command, but the two guys.
Frizzy-haired samurai and the green-haired dude?
Yeah, the summoner.
Yeah.
I know that they were a part of it. I don't think the other one was.
I don't know. There's a hatred there that I don't understand that I hope is going to be expanded upon in season 3. But yeah. Did you notice that when they were figuring out relatively safe, I use that word loosely, safe ways to earn experience? Unfortunately, it was using the people of the land as test subjects. When summoners wanted like a ghoul or something like that, they were using, instead of their own energy, they were using the people of the land. And like, that's horrific.
Yeah.
And just, I don't. That means that nobody in that kingdom sees the people of the land as real people.
Well, it's the thing that's really interesting. It's not just the adventurers that are doing that. It's also people of the land that are doing that to them.
Oh.
So like the general or whatever her name was that chief was actually fighting on the train. That wasn't an adventurer. That was a person of the land.
Oh shit.
That's why the assassin or the samurai stopped Chief from actually killing her, because she won't revive. She will actually die. She is an actual person of the land, and some of the other people that you saw that were all part of it, they were also all people of the land. Not all of them, but a nice chunk of them were.
That would be kind of worrisome if you were able to somehow get a bunch of people of the land and just have your own little army of people of the land.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine, like, if you had someone like Shiro who's like, I don't want to kill people of the land because they don't revive. And then you had these other people who were like, we don't care at all. We're going to use them when we can.
Yeah, no kidding.
So that's a morality fight. Unless maybe they're going to bring back the contract magic.
They might bring back the contract magic. That would be interesting to see if they do that. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're just going to try and focus solely on possibly either the people of the land war with the adventurers, or them trying to finally be able to communicate to the moon, because that's really the buildup for it, is for them to do that, for them to be able to figure out possibly a way to get home, or them to bring more people in and be able to go home. You know, that would be my assumption. That would be my guess.
I get that, but do you remember at the end of season 1 when they were talking about Shiro was like, yeah, we can send someone somewhere, but we don't know where it is, referencing maybe being able to send somebody back home?
Maybe.
He was talking to the fox lady, and she was like, you found a way home. And he goes, I don't know where it is. I just know that people aren't coming back. They never expanded on that. So maybe they'll do a throwback.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. I can only hope.
Yeah. Oh. We teased it earlier. We never really said it. The leader of the Tea Party's back in the game.
Konami. Yeah, I actually referenced that name.
You did, yes, but there was no real
context,
gravitas behind it. Yeah. She's back in the game, but she's in the China server. She was in the Rome server, and she's making her way to Shiro, for lack of a better term. And I think it's really funny that the dynamic between the two, because she calls Shiro her tour bus guide, her bus driver, bus guide. Which one was it?
Bus guide.
Bus guide. And that for some reason sends a shiver down his spine.
Well, it's not that it really sent a shiver down his spine. He was like, bus guide? Really? Like, come on. And then also at that point in time too, you know, that's since it's the last episode when Shiro and Konami are actually talking, you also find out where Krusty actually is.
Yeah, that was a shock and a half. Krusty is in China with Konami with an arm.
Yeah, well, it's the arm of the captain, or not the captain, his number 2.
Yeah, but that leads a whole other thing. Like, imagine if you wanted to torture someone, you can have that scythe and have somebody's half of a body in that circle. The wound did not regenerate.
Yeah, it didn't, but it would be hard to use that as a torture device.
True. You would have to write flavor code yourself, like we were talking about before.
Yeah.
But still, the options laid before us are immense.
True.
But yeah, no, I think it'll be really awesome. I think it's going to be really awesome, the options before us, because we really don't know who the bad guy is anymore.
No, we don't.
We have a bunch of, I'm not going to call them neutral parties, but we have a bunch of people who could potentially have the same goal. They'll just have different ways of doing it. And I do agree with you. I think contacting the moon will be a very big motivating factor. My only curiosity is, do you think they're going to try to kill themselves to get to the moon? Because we saw that that's what happened before.
No, because they're going to find out a different way to be able to communicate to the moon. It's not so much get to the moon, it's communicate to the moon.
Bro, we verified science works in this world, right?
Yes.
Rocket science. They can fly to the moon.
True. But that again brings up what was already brought up to Shiro. The cost is ungodly, and they don't have the means to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like we have more questions than we do answers after season 2.
Indeed. But what really sucks is in the latter half of season 2, it's a lot of filler. And it kind of left me with more questions and kind of a bad taste in my mouth a little bit. Also, Miss Isuzu is a really bad singer.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the trap. The idol?
Yeah.
That turned out to be a boy?
That's fine. Talk about it.
Oh, God.
I mean, like, it's basically known to everyone, but Nuggets now.
Yeah. But the main person that it's in. So you find this idol, and I don't know if you knew, but like within the first 5 minutes, I'm like, yeah, I know exactly where this is going. I know what trope this is. So you've got this idol who is very girly and very just straight up, I'm a girl, I'm the hottest thing ever, I'm the best thing ever.
Not even saying that they're a girl. They're just saying they're a starlet. And then asking if he wants to see the panties. Never once did they say gender. And in fact, when Tao and Rudy ask how they should refer to said individual, they simply state their name. Refer to me as my name. Like,
yeah.
So
it was hilarious. Like, there's a love triangle here that's gonna just blow up one day. That's gonna be beautiful. We love it.
Before we get on to the rankings, before we get on to the rank, I just want to say one thing. Did you all at any point in time decide to just check out the dubs?
Unfortunately.
Good. I'm glad you took my word of advice. I in the Discord had said that the dubs were very, very bad. They were bad. There's like no way around how bad it was. And in fact, the dialogue was so different between the subs and the dubs. It was bad. And instead of Nyanta being how he normally is, he liked to refer to everyone as baby a lot.
Yeah. It's on par with Naruto's Believe It.
Yes.
Ugh, dear Lord. Yeah, that was
bad.
I watched about 8 minutes and then went, nope, I'm done. If I have to do this the rest of the time, it's not. If it was the first version I saw, I think I'd be more forgiving. But as it stood, there was no way I could let just straight no.
All right.
If I had to rank it on that, it'd be like a 3. Because there are worse ones, but no.
Yeah, no, there are some worse ones, but there are some far better ones too.
Yeah. Well, speaking of ranking, I think we covered, I would say, most of it.
Oh, yeah. So on a scale of up to 10, sir, how would you rate this?
Well, the first 12 episodes, flawless. Well, yeah, flawless. Second 12 could have been reduced to the next 4. So I think it's probably one of the reasons you and I were talking about that the season 3 is only going to be 12 episodes long because they had a solid 12 and then just blah.
Yeah.
You know what? In anticipation for a solid season 3 and in appreciation of the first half, I'm going to give it an 8.
Gonna give it an 8.
I'm pretty sure it's higher than yours, but I feel like there were certain areas that if you were to get a 10 out of season 1, which again, 100% recommend, season 2, while not as good by any stretch of the imagination, still had some extremely valuable material information given to you. They expanded more on the idea that this world is evolving with them. Yeah. And I think if you were to skip season 2 entirely, it would not be good. I think season 2 is worth watching.
I'm going with the 7, just 1 point lower. Reason why I'm going with 1 point lower is because of the amount of fillers that's in it. And I really didn't like that. Some of the filler-esque style section could have been probably compressed down to like maybe 3 episodes total, if that.
Yeah.
And that would be to cut out all the extra fluff that's really not needed there for it. I mean, I get why they did it. It's for character building, for you to really understand what's going on and to give you a better sense of the world that they're in. But I felt like it was not needed. At least not 8, 9, 10 episodes worth. That was a little too much.
I agree. Well, my good sir, I believe next episode is your choice. Do you have any idea?
I do. How about Fireworks? We're going to do a movie.
Okay. I've heard good things about it.
I've heard mixed about it. I'm kind of interested to see. I've heard some people say they loved it. I've heard some people say they haven't loved it. So
they loved it, and then they just didn't reply.
Exactly.
Didn't want to hurt my feelings.
Well, that's all the time that we have for today. Hope you enjoyed this week's choice. I know that both Rick and I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. We've also had some pretty interesting discussions, even outside of this, even outside of Discord. So maybe we'll start doing that and giving a little bit of maybe doing some extra content here in the future. Not sure. We do have some plans for the future, though. We'll probably talk a little bit about that in our Discord. But if you want to reach us for right now, you can reach out to us, featuredanimepodcast@gmail.com, Featured Anime Podcast on Facebook, at Those Anime Guys on Twitter. Also, feel free to join us in our Discord. We're always in there. We're always talking about it. And that's also where I told everyone to check out the dubs for this week's choice.
Yeah.
Because who doesn't love some Barry White Chief, you know?
And the memes aren't bad either.
No, not at all. The memes are actually pretty tasteful too. But if that's not your bag of tea, that's all right. You know, you don't have to join us, but I do encourage it. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment. Be happy to respond to you on there. Don't forget to subscribe anywhere that you get your podcast from, including on YouTube. It really helps us out, helps us grow. And until next time, I'm Jack.
And unless I respawn and forget you, I'm Rick. We'll see you next time.